On this episode, we are going to talk about the 5 biggest mistakes that investors make when purchasing rental property in San Luis Obispo County. Hello, and welcome back to the Happy House Hacking Podcast, the podcast designed to help you navigate the path to your next happy home. On today's episode, we are going to talk about some of the top 5 mistakes investors make when looking to purchase their next investment property. So, number 1, this is something that is really important. Investing in real estate, you need to know your numbers. How much can you financially afford? And so the number 1 mistake people make is not getting pre-approved early enough in the process.
Yeah, that's a big one because we really need to know your purchasing power on the front end. There's no point in even exploring this as an option if we don't know what you can comfortably afford, and especially from the investor standpoint, what will actually cash flow for you and meet your investment needs.
Yeah, San Luis Obispo County is a beautiful county. It's got a lot of great real estate that you can invest in, a lot of potential for cash flow and market appreciation. So before you lock yourself into a situation, this is huge. We've seen people not know what their numbers are and then get under contract and then realize, ooh, actually, I didn't realize that the interest rate for an investor loan is higher. Or, wait, what? I have to put more down for investment property? And it's a surprise when it definitely should not be. And so, number 1, make sure you get your pre-approval letter early in that process.
Yeah, and another good thing to note too is sometimes when you're competing with a bunch of buyers, you might be in a better spot if you go with a hard money loan rather than just a regular investor finance loan. And that would be worthwhile to explore on the front end to make sure you can make a cash offer that's competitive enough. But hard money lenders usually charge more money in their fees and in their overall interest rates. So it's really important we know that on the front end to have our options in case we're in a highly competitive situation.
Yeah. And if you're purchasing like a major fixer-upper, you can get a construction loan through some of these hard money lenders. You want to know what the details are on that upfront, because sometimes they'll let you take out more money, sometimes less, and it all depends. And these are huge questions you need to get answered early on. Okay, now, mistake number 2. One thing we see, people, they're budgeting for the property purchase and they think, okay, all I need to account for is my mortgage. I've got my rental income and now I've got my mortgage. And that's it. The rest is cash flow. Wrong. There are other costs involved in owning property. And people forget, I have to pay for sometimes utilities or maintenance or capital improvements. And so if you're investing in real estate and you're not budgeting those items in, you're going to be in a world of hurt when this property isn't cash flowing as great as you thought it would.
Yeah, it's really important to know if let's say it's a multifamily property, are the units individually metered for gas, water, electricity? What is the status? Was that a cost that you could build out and bill the tenants for? Or is that something that you have to take on because there's one water meter for the whole property? So those are really important details that add up over time. And then, of course, there's landscaping fees. And if you need to do tree trimming in order for an insurance company to continue to insure your property, there's a lot that goes into it. And in our area especially, there is so much moisture in our air that wood-destroying organisms are pretty common in homes. So you have properties that have at least $5,000 worth of termite work needed to be repaired. That most likely will include fumigation every few years. So you want to make sure that you're budgeting every single month. And once you factor that in and then you add in your projected rents, if you're not cash flowing what you need in order to make this investment worthwhile, well, then it's not worth buying.
So if you're purchasing a property, you want to ask for a copy of, if it's a rental property, can I see a copy of their operating statement? What were their expenses that they had to pay that year? And if you can get 12 months 2 years worth of operating expenses, you can then go into it a lot better, budgeting what my costs are going to be.
Yeah, because some property owners, they do regular pest maintenance where they're spraying around every month for pest control. That could be $95 to $150 per month. And that might not have even been on your list until you saw that the current owner was doing that. Then you're factoring that expense into your numbers.
Yeah. Okay. Mistake number 3, not thinking long term about location. Oftentimes people think, oh, wow, this is super affordable. This property is a really great price. I think that it's going to be a great investment. And they totally kind of turn their eye to the fact that there's some major location default or something wrong with the property where it's located.
Yeah, it's so funny. In our area, we live right next to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Go Mustangs. And we we meet so many investor buyers who say, "Oh, I'll just pack it with students," right? And the reality is students are people too, okay? They're going to have preferences about where they want to live. So sometimes the bad location will, still work out because it is true. Students need housing. Some investors take advantage of that. But it's also true that students and buyers and renters are very smart and they have access on their phones to a number of opportunities on their phones through Zillow, through realtor.com, where they're shopping and they're browsing and they know a good deal when they see one. So if they see that your property is located, on the hillside or in a rougher part of town, they're going to scroll past it and it'll be sitting longer. And the longer your rental sits on the market, the more people start to question what's wrong with it. And then you end up having to do a price reduction. So anyway, it's funny when people think, oh yeah, the students, they don't care. I'll charge a premium and whatever. Well, they're people too, and they know a good location when they see it.
Yeah. So you need to think in the mindset of an investor, what value does this property bring to the market? How do I stand out compared to the competition? And sometimes properties that are like right on the freeway or right up against a hill where there could be water, landslide potential, that's kind of scary. Or maybe it's like they're up against the wild preserve right behind it. So it could be higher fire risk. That may be, insurance, extra costs. So you really got to think about it. If it's a busy road, could there be a lot of road noise, which turns off potential buyers? So location really does matter when it comes to your investment property because tenants, they want to live in a desirable location. And we are all about, house hacking, finding a property, sometimes living outside, commuting for a season of time. And then at the same time, sometimes people think, oh, maybe I'll just buy in Atascadero or Nipomo or Santa Maria. You do get sometimes better priced options. However, long term, what is the growth potential of those markets? Are people moving there? Is there job growth? Because job growth drives rent growth. So these are really some important factors you want to think about long term. Is this location going to appreciate in value because people are moving here and want to be here? Or is it going to depreciate in value because people are moving out and they don't want to be there? All right. Number 4, another mistake. It's not understanding competition and inventory. Price is determined by supply and demand. If there's a lot of something on the market, well, hey, high supply, if demand is fixed, then prices go down. However, if there's a limited supply and there's strong demand for that product, prices go up. So Economics 101, supply and demand for this property. Where is it located? Is it desirable or not?
Yeah, we're in an interesting season where we're not in an official buyer's market where there's more than 6 months supply of inventory on available for purchase right now. But buyers are really thinking, "Oh no, I have the upper hand. I don't have to come in strong. I can lowball. I can, get a request for concessions agreed upon very quickly." And for some properties, that is true. If it's really rough and it's been sitting on the market for months, then yes, I'm sure you'll be able to score some type of deal. However, in general, we're still seeing homes sell for close to 98% of the list price. So we need to make sure that when we're writing our offers that they're still strong, because if you're serious about the property, there is a chance you could lose it to another buyer. It's not like we have a crazy amount of inventory right now, and a lot of buyers are getting more excited about buying because of how interest rates have dropped significantly compared to where they were at 2.5, 3 years ago. Still a ways to go, but still it's getting a resurgence going again of buyer excitement.
Yeah. And so inventory has been climbing lately, which is why days on market has picked up and things are sitting a little bit longer. And recently, the latest month of data just showed that inventory actually came back down. So we were up to like 860 houses or so for sale in SLO County. That's down to 820. So you can see that inventory isn't growing fast enough. And this is going to continue to drive value for the properties long term in our area. So, okay. Number 5, overlooking hidden costs. So many times buyers will get into a property, investors will look at something and say, "Ooh, this looks good." But then they forget that if it's, the utilities are not included, or like there's like a well, for example, or a septic system, you have to pump and dump your septic system every couple of years.
Yeah, so sometimes a buyer will get excited about a property and think, "Oh, I'm going to do the basic inspection, right? I'll do a home inspection, I'll do a pest inspection." Well, if they don't end up doing the other inspections that are required and, well, strongly suggested. I guess nothing's actually required. We strongly suggest you get all of these ones. But if they don't get the septic inspection or the well inspection, then they might uncover later, maybe a year or two later, hidden costs associated with maintenance that they did not anticipate previously. Another example would be if you did get a home inspection and let's say it's in the city limits, so you don't have a septic or well to deal with, but the home inspector suggests getting a roofer out or a foundation specialist out, or maybe even a mold inspector out, and you decide not to do that, well, in a few years, we might see even more significant deferred maintenance that would cost tens and thousands of dollars that might exceed your overall repair savings account that you've allocated towards property repairs. So it is really important that you're doing this on the front end to mitigate any issues that come up in a couple years once you've owned this investment.
One common one that people forget about is the sewer lateral. And it can be really expensive, like 12 grand or more to repair a sewer lateral. So if the home inspection calls attention to it, or if you want to just make sure you have that scoped, get it checked out, and that way you can know what that cost is. So you can mitigate on the front end and ask the seller to help you pay for that through a price reduction or concession of some kind.
Yeah, and one thing to note too is let's say there is an emergency situation where you have a huge leak, the sewer lateral is, torn to bits because of root intrusion or whatever, and it is a 12,000 plus dollar estimate. Well, if you send that to your homeowner's insurance company, they'll probably take care of it, but then you become kind of red tagged with insurance companies moving forward that you filed an insurance claim. It follows you, not just the property. And if you go and buy another property, they're going to see that you have a history of filing claims. And in California, homeowners insurance is not something you want to mess around with, especially if you are using your property as a rental, because you already have a higher premium because you're not owner occupying. So it is really important to consider, is this worth spooking my insurance company over or not? And that's where those hidden costs could come in, where it might be better if you paid that $12,000 out of pocket than asking your insurance company, but you were not expecting to have to do that.
Hmm.
So that's where it's really important that you just are extra conservative with all your number crunching. If you are buying an investment property in today's market, you want to be as prepared as possible because really anything could happen.
Hmm. Now, another tip for ways you can mitigate some costs potentially, you can ask the seller to pay for a 1-year home warranty. And the nifty thing about that is that warranty will cover a lot of the systems in the house and appliances. So let's say there's like a refrigerator that now is broken. They can pay for that. And so if you get the seller to pay that home warranty, and then the company is willing to give you a new refrigerator, or they even do a cash in lieu, where maybe it's like $1,500 that they'll give you cash in lieu of the new refrigerator, which you can then use to go save or buy another appliance.
Yeah, everything is subjective to inventory, the type of appliance you have. But yes, a home warranty is something that would be great if the seller would pay for it for that first year to help just reduce any extra headache and expenses.
So investing in real estate in San Luis Obispo County can feel overwhelming. It's a big question mark sometimes. Where do I begin? How do I go through this process and avoid all of these costly mistakes? And that's where contacting a real estate professional can help you through this process. If you want to connect with us to chat more about your next real estate investment, send us a message or comment, and we'd love to connect to help you on your journey. Please like, subscribe, and follow, and share this podcast with someone you think who may enjoy it. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll see you next time.